Hey, YouTube, Sean G back with another video. Hello, guys. I'm back here to make this video because I did say that I wanted to make a video with you guys getting to know me one-on-one. Before I get into this video, I would like to say to you guys, my video is not going to be for everybody. And I also will say that it could get touchy at times. So if you're really sensitive to what someone else is going through, I want you to exit my video. I don't want to bring back or rehash anything that someone may have going on, but what I do want to do is connect with that certain person or those certain people who have found themselves in the same situation I was. I chose to share my story, as I said in the beginning. I chose to share my story in this way. I have to go back because there's so many that are left in that space or then crawled up in that space and they stay in there because they don't feel that they have a voice to speak. So again, I'm hoping by telling my story that it reaches as many as a voice will carry, in hopes of them regaining their voice to be able to tell their story. Okay, guys, I entitled my story. The title of my story is, as you guys see on the video, No One Believed Me Until Now. Okay, guys. Y'all excuse me, it's a little bit chilly. We got a little ice storm, but let me get into this video. I was born into a family where my mother had 12 children, 7 girls and 5 boys. I have 5 sisters that are older than me, and I have 1 little sister that's younger than me. I have 4 older brothers and 1 baby brother. So that leaves me to be child number 10. On my father's side, I am the third oldest daughter. And I have 1 sister older than me. And 3 younger than me, and also 3 brothers. On my father's side, 2 since have passed. 2 siblings since have passed. My little sister and 1 of my older brothers on my dad's side. As far as my sisters and brothers from my mother's side, I also have an older sister and an older brother who has since passed on. Now that it leaves 10, I'm still the 10th child out of the 12. My story begins as far back as I can remember. I thought it was 2 years old, but as time went on, uh, I was told it was 5 years old. And the way that I had it in my little head, the event that took place actually wasn't the event at all. Um, at 5 years old, um, I was severely burned, accidentally burned by a kerosene heater. Back in our times, we didn't have really much of anything, but my mom made good with what she did have. We grew up poor, but we still had more than most poor kids did have, if that makes sense. We had stuff, hand-me-downs or whatever you want to call it. But anywho, we used to heat our house. My mom used to heat our house with kerosene heaters to keep the gas bill down. By being so many of us, it wasn't just my siblings there. They also were having babies around the time. My two youngest siblings were babies, basically. My oldest niece and nephew, my oldest nephew, which had since passed on, but my oldest niece is like almost 5 years younger than me. She's somewhere between 4 years and probably 4 days or something like that. We share the same month of the birthday, but not birth month, but not the date. But anywho, as I was told, I was standing in front of the kerosene heater one afternoon, trying to get warm, apparently, and I had got too close to the kerosene heater. If you guys know, back in the days, those kerosene heaters where they had the iron bar or metal bar that goes across it when you open it and close it. I was standing too close to that, and I was not aware of how close I was actually standing to the heat. And then eventually the heat got hot enough to where the flame started to rise, and it caught hold to the pants I was wearing, and it caused third-degree burns. The lower part of my right ankle all the way up in part all the way up to my right thigh. From there, I really don't know too much. All I do know is we have found ourselves in a bit of a dilemma. I don't remember the burn. I was told that it actually burned me down to my bone. But anywho, we had the social worker coming out to visit us after this incident, and I don't know. I guess by being so many in the home, not only my mother's kids, but her grandkids as well. Our house wasn't in disarray. We were living in a 9-room house, brick house, that my mother purchased and bought. So she wasn't too poor. She was able to buy a house to be able to raise her kids. But we had a social worker come to the house, and all I can remember was they were escorting me, my little sister, my little brother, and my brother that's next to me, if I'm not mistaken. They were escorting us to their vehicle, and all I can remember is screaming and hollering, "I want my mama. Where are you taking me? And why are we getting in your car?" We didn't know at the time that we were actually going to what they call an orphanage. I don't know what you call them, homes. But we went there, and we had to stay there. It seemed like it took forever for us to come home or even see my mom. But I know the things that we had to endure while being in that home. Matter of fact, it was called the Annie Malone Children's Home. We wasn't fairly treated while we were staying there. Most of my older siblings don't know this, but my little sister and my little brother, and I'm not sure if my older brother that's next to me knows, but the 3 youngest of my mother kids, which is me, my little sister, and my little brother, we know exactly what went on in that nursing home, in that home. Like I say, we was not fairly treated. Matter of fact, we was actually being abused. We were being abused by electrical cords, being shocked. I don't know how it is that they had them equipped to the beds that we were sleeping in or whatever, but as children, when social service come in and just take you away from your mother, it's the most scariest thing in the world. And no matter how much we cried and begged and pleaded for them not to take us, they took us anyway. And all I can remember is me just crying and crying. I want my mama. I want to go home. I want my mama. I want to go home. And I don't know why it was that we got tortured the way that we did while we were living in foster care. But I was so glad when that time came and we went back home, or was able to go back home to our mother. All I can remember that at that time was we arrived at my mother's house. We arrived in a dark green car. It was a long car. I don't know if it was a Cadillac or uh, whatever you call them, big cars. All I know, it was green. And this white lady, she had her a clipboard. And once my mom came running down the steps, they hadn't let us out yet, but I saw her and I was saying, "Mama, mama, mama." And she came on down the steps. I take it she had to sign something or another. And the lady unlocked the door. She opened the door and she let us out. And the first thing I did was grab my mama. And I had told her, don't ever let nobody take us away ever again. And I just held her and held her and held her. And I'm having a little shakes right now. I just held on to her and I didn't want to let her go. My little sister and my little brother as well. I mean, we cried and we were so happy that we finally made it out of that place. Never told my mom, not to my recollection. I never told her what took place in that nursing home. But I will say, I was glad to have my little sister and my brothers out of that place and back at home. Fast forward 7 years later. That's where the rape came in. You guys know that I touched base on that in the beginning of my videos. If you guys want to know a little bit about that story, y'all can go and watch the video. It's entitled I'm Looking for Her. There was another chain of events that happened. And because I didn't say anything the first time, the second time was different and made me not say anything at all, because this time was totally different than the first time. Us being tortured was one thing, but to be violated and threatened all at the same time, and still wanting to protect the ones that you are being threatened about, I was forced to be hush mouth. And it took me to a place, a dark place. And it took me so deep to where I blacked out. I really didn't know much of anything after that. But my life actually, or my road through life, was actually missing. There were missing parts, different phases. But I do remember by the age 16, 17. You guys have heard that as well. By 16, 17 years old, I started living life on my own terms. And I stated a claim that no one will ever hurt me like that again. No one will ever take me away from my family like that again. No one will ever hurt me in that manner ever again. And I set my own standards for how Shonda wanted to live her life from that point. And I was stating a claim as well, letting it be known to any and everybody. And I said, one man hurt me, I'll kill another one before I let him hurt me. That ain't gonna happen ever again. You're gonna either have to take me out of here or I'm gonna take your ass out of here. It's not gonna happen. Guys, I can't be nobody other than who I am. This me, whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad. This is just life for me. However life was presented to me, I learned to somehow, some way, deal with it in my own sort of way, if that make any sense. What it boils down to is I was never going to let anything that happened to me from my childhood life and thereon. I was not going to allow what happened to dictate to me what I can do and what I can't do with my life. So, around 16 years old, I didn't see my family being the family that I knew of before all this took place. Nobody was really around other than my little sister and my little brother. And of course, it's my nieces and nephews. But as far as my older siblings, I saw them coming in, I saw them going out. They was doing their own thing, living their own lives, however they chose to do it. But I was always wondering, why is it that nobody is paying attention to the three youngest ones? And because we wasn't getting the attention that we felt we deserved, I'm talking about my little brother, my little sister, and myself. My mom, she wore many hats. Let me put it that way. She wore many hats. And she did more than I could ever do as a woman to take on the responsibilities that she took on and not having a man in the picture to help her. She was basically that superwoman. She was that mama that put fear in her kids. But at the same time, she was tough loving us. She meant what she said, and she said what she meant. This was the hardcore part of life. By her putting the fear of God in us, I was too scared to even tell her something, even if I knew how to put the words together to tell her what was going on. But I always knew that my mama, she had to be strong. Because the only thing that I remember my mom doing was going to work from one job, coming home to feed us, clean up, bathe, put on the other uniform, and head out to her second job. And then, when she didn't have her work her second job, we had church. So we go to church almost every day of the week. So basically, that's all I remember is my mother was a woman that worked and went to church. And that's all she did. And at 16, seeing this, well, I always knew it, but seeing it even more at the age of 16, I ain't gonna say I became rebellious, but I had a strong dislike for some things, and I never blamed my mother for it. I never blamed anybody for it, but the ones that were involved. And I started to take on a role to where I wished that my older siblings had took on and did for me. But since I did not get that, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm at an age now where not only can I defend myself, I know a whole lot more than I did as a child. You can't manipulate me at this point. You can't intimidate me at this point. You can't hurt me no more at this point. And I took that and I built my life off of it. And that's where I was gaining my strength. Not knowing that I wasn't taking care of the core part of what was going on in my life, and that was my childhood trauma. And I believe that as a child, when you are molested, raped, that young, your little mind can't comprehend nothing like that, and I take it that you go into shock or something, and you black out, and I just believe it was just too much on my body, and I blacked out, and I don't remember much of my childhood after that. But I didn't know, or I didn't realize until I got older, much, much older, that there was a part of me that still was not who I was supposed to be. I knew what I wanted to be. I was making sure that I was being that. But what I needed, I couldn't fulfill. It was a void there. And I didn't know how to fill it. I thought that by me taking my little sister and my little brother, as well as my nieces and nephews under my wing, and to show them by giving them everything that I wished that my sisters, my brothers, even my mother and my father would have gave me. I was yearning for that attention for so long. And it seemed like the further I was reaching for it, the further back it became. And I became frustrated. And I became angry. And I was like, this ain't how this supposed to go. This is not how this supposed to be. And I was trying to find my way from that point. And I said, if I can just get a footing, be able to stand on my own 2 feet, boy, what can I take and do with that? So I took my little sister and my little brother up under my wing, like I said, as well as my nieces and nephews. And I gave them something that I wish that I would have got from my mother, my father, and my sisters and brothers. But since I didn't, I took what I learned from them by watching them, because it sure wasn't by talking to them. It was as nobody had time. Everybody was doing their own thing. Just didn't have time for the younger one. But nevertheless, I was one never to make excuses. I was always going to find a solution one way or the other. How I was going about it, I didn't know until I went about it. That's how I know that you can solve problems without really, really getting yourself into deep, deep trouble. But for the most part, you can solve problems basically through prayer, for one. But just living that life is like, you got to watch folk. And that's how I learned, and I took, and I gave that to each and every last person that I can possibly give to. From my little sister on down to my little brother, on down to my nieces and my nephews. And I took them up under my wing to not only protect them or show that security, but to also to show that I love them and that I care about them. And I let it be known to them. If anybody touch you, I don't give a fuck who it is. If anybody touch you in the wrong way, you better let me know. Let me know. Don't worry about what they say they gonna do. If you say something, this, that, and the third, just let me know. And everything was A-okay. Because I was letting them know that if nobody else, or you felt nobody else will be there for you, that my little sister and my little brother will always have me. I say big sis, because that's the role I played. I took on that responsibility because I didn't see nobody else. Not that they weren't able to, they just wasn't paying enough attention to do it. So, said somebody got to be the lookout. Somebody got to be the watchman. Somebody got to be the protector. Somebody got to be the overseer. It left me. I took on that responsibility. And when I took it on, I didn't know how much of that responsibility was going to impact my own life when it was time for me to make my family. But nevertheless, I stuck in there. I was making sure. You don't have to come and see me, because I'm coming to see you. You just don't know when. I do pop-ups. And the only reason why I do that, and anybody that knows me will verify this. I tell people, my family, friends, significant others, when you about to hold a conversation with me, I don't want to know your business. I'm not coming to see you about your business. I'm only coming to see you out of concern. And upon that visit, I'm going to know just by looking at you before you even say a word if you all right. If you ain't all right, I'm going to know that too, just by your response, your body response. Y'all heard of the saying, actions speak louder than words. Your body actions, it speak louder than words. That's a true saying. But those, like I said, those that know me already know. When I'm showing up, they know what I'm showing up for. Majority of the time, unless I'm being called. Of course, they know I'm going to show up because, like I say, I had took on that role. But it had became to a point where I had to pull myself back because it was like they was depending on me just a little too much. And it started weighing on me. Because at this time I had my own family. And I just didn't have all of that time that I was given to accompany them when I was raising my own kids. But nevertheless, I still took the time because I took my kids with me. I was always available to my family. But my family wasn't always available to me. I think that's where I started learning that it's okay to love your family. It's okay to protect your family. It's okay to do all those wonderful things. But it's also okay to let your family go at some point in time when you know that you have a life of your own, especially when you got kids. You need to be taking that time and investing it in your kids because your kids got to grow up too. And I had to learn to allow grown folk to take care of grown folk business. But yet I would check on them. And I still do this right now today. I go and check on them out of concern. Hey, what's up? What's going on? How you doing? Y'all know that language. My question after speaking is, how you doing? If the person that I'm speaking to and asking that question to, whether it's a she or he, they tell me that they okay, then I'm okay. I'm going to the next one. And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to holler at you. Get a love hug, a little pom-pom. I'm on to the next one. Because like I say, I'm only down there out of concern. I'm not into nobody business because I have my own business to take care of. But anywho, I'm on to the next one until I then made my rounds and I'm making my way back my way. Few of them have little issues going on or whatever. We get into conversation, and it's like, that's what I'm talking about, because if I feel that I can help you in an area out of concern, then that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I put myself in that position from get-go to take on that responsibility and to let y'all know and reassure y'all that if y'all ain't never felt like y'all had nobody, I know what that felt like, because I didn't. At least not the way I felt I should or the way that I needed. So I basically was self-taught by watching, because wasn't nobody telling me nothing. As far as, life go, dealing with relationships and all this other type of shit they call themselves doing. And seeing a lot, I learned the things that I would do, the things I wouldn't do, the things I would say, things I wouldn't say. I started living life on the who, what, when, where, how, and why. And I still live with it today. My 7 sisters, including myself, well, I'll say 6 at the time, and my mother, those 7 females taught me everything without saying a word. Has taught me everything that I needed to know by watching as a female. So therefore, anything outside of my mama and my 6 sisters, well, I had to teach my little sister. She was younger than me. But those 5 other older sisters, they didn't know what they was giving me at that time. All I know is I caught on to it, and I was glad that I caught on to it, because I was forced to have to pay attention. I had to pay attention to life in a way that I never expected from the age that I was. That shit is not what it seemed. Shit is not the way it looked. And I do believe, as far as the Bible talking about smoke and mirrors, I think it's in the book of Proverbs, where it says that life is like smoke and mirrors. When the smoke clears, everything disappears. Somebody is always watching somebody at some point in time. But what is they watching them for is the catch. But I had to watch, and I had to learn that way. And when I learned from a child how cruel this world can really be, I didn't see things the way I saw my older siblings seeing them. I believe that what I learned first was what I was going to take through my life and build on. Opposite of what I saw. I chose to do the right things in spite of. Yeah, I got myself in trouble a few times. But life is about learning lessons. You're going to have to go and do some shit to learn from them. But I love my family enough, so I mean, I was their protector. I was their guider. I was the one, there out of concern and letting them know that, you loved, you cared for, you respected. Don't worry about nothing. Basically, I got you. Basically, like a secure blanket. Like I said, something that I wish that I had for me, but never did. So I gave it to myself. So, guys, this is just part 1 of my story. I know none of y'all expected me to be coming this way. But as y'all get to learn me and my story, this is the only way that I ever will come. I will always come correct. Because no matter how much or how many times things went wrong, I will always come correct. Because I know my truth. And I know where I'll continue to stand. And that's in my truth. Until then, guys, I have a part 2 from 17 to 23. You guys stay tuned for that video. You guys know that I don't want to leave my video without leaving it on a positive note. And you guys know the word that I use is power. I'll take the P for pressure. I'll take the R to release that pressure. But I want to share the OWE with you guys because you owe it to yourselves to be the best you can be. Remember, God loves you and I love my fam too. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Be blessed.